But in this stage, and this is the second stage of the integral way, what I call the integral way, because of the loosening of grip of the ego, all kinds of unprocessed things from unconscious can come up to the surface. And that's what I mean by starting meditation. That has immediate consequences. So there was quite a first period in my life that did not match with my idea of really becoming a spiritual person at all, because I suffered from more, let's say, how do you say that in English? Irritations, anger, outbursts, depressions, frustrations. Yeah, so, and you had to cope with it. So, and that is your second lesson. The first is that you find enough intensity through your previous pain to be motivated to go on the path. That's your first lesson. Second lesson is how you are going to cope with all these unprocessed emotions, pain, anger, etc., which are there before, and how to handle that. And that requires integration. So, next to the meditation practice, there is very often a need to also embrace some kind of therapy, which helps you to do some additional integration. So I worked 15 years on the integration of my pain, my anger, my fear, and so on and so forth. After these years of meditation, I thought, this is it. I mean, but it still had to come, in fact. So, second step, therapy, integration, working on your unprocessed fear, pain, and so on and so forth. It's very important to do so, because I will tell you later why, if you don't do. There is quite some people who stick to their achievement already in the first step, huh? I mean, they have become aware. And spirituality is all about becoming aware. So, for quite some people, if all these unprocessed things come up, that is not too much welcome. For quite some people, these are obstacles which they don't like. So, and they start meditating more intensively in order to keep these things on a distance. Also, for example, if there's people who have already a spiritual self-image of harmony, balance, clarity, and so on and so forth, to them, these hindrances are not welcome. So they refuse to go into the second step, because their self-image won't allow it, you know. They want to keep this Buddha image of themselves. So it requires some courage to go back to zero, in fact. To go to therapy like everybody else, despite your awakening. You understand what I mean?
They have to admit that they need help.
Exactly.
They won't admit that.
Won't admit that. And they are already a teacher with some following and so, I mean, and then admit that you also have your pain and your anger and your, you know, I mean, that's not good for your self-image. So, especially men suffer from it. Okay. Huh? I mean, we men, we have bigger egos. I mean, there are now quite some women who match the same thing, but I mean, we suffer from it, and we translate our spiritual inner achievements immediately in becoming a teacher or whatever, you know. We make an ambition and a career out of it. Okay, that's quite some challenge. Third step. So this the second step is the therapy you have to go in. You discover, especially when bodily awareness is the basics of all, that expansion of awareness, first you feel your body here, and then you feel your skin, and then you feel that you become more space here. The more you relax in the body, the more space is created here automatically, spontaneously. You don't have to do anything, in fact. And then suddenly you're going to experience that suddenly your awareness become, how you say, transcends the body. It becomes wider than the body. That is quite a nice experience, because if your awareness becomes wider than the body, you don't feel the body as a separate entity anymore. That's what they say in Vedanta, everywhere. The body drops off. You have no body anymore. And that they consider as something of a high achievement. I will tell something about that later. I mean, it's not an achievement as such, because many philosophies say you have to get rid of the body because that is spiritual. Well, and if it happens that your awareness becomes wider than yourself, then suddenly you are in that situation. And you say, oh, I've achieved it, because I don't feel the body anymore as a separate entity. Okay. What happens simultaneously, that if I become wider than my own body, suddenly the microphone comes into my space. This thing comes into my space. And if it widens and widens more, then you come in my space. You become part of my space. So in the third step, with the extension of awareness, suddenly compassion is born. Because if this comes in my space, this becomes very, very precious and special, regardless of what it is. It doesn't matter if this is a piece of gold or this is just this wooden thing here. It doesn't matter at all. If it comes into my space, it gets the aura of consciousness. It becomes part of my consciousness. And everything that becomes part of my consciousness becomes part of me, part of whom I really are. And that becomes totally dear to me. So really, touching it is really very precious. So I make often jokes and say, it doesn't matter in that stage if you touch your beloved or you touch the microphone here. It's the same quality. It's really, you see that, huh? I mean, in that state, I've been just falling down on the grass and start kissing it. I mean, everything becomes so precious, such a treasure. Then it becomes true to you that life is a treasure, it's a grace. Because it doesn't matter what you meet. You understand? It's not depending on your preferences anymore. This I like and this I don't like. If there is a piece of trash here, you start kissing it, for example. Because it has become part of your eternal consciousness. So all this nonsense talking that this is the relative world and that is the absolute world, you know, it just has disappeared. If you come in my space or a tree comes in my space, I start hugging the tree as a part of myself, which is an ecstatic, blissful moment. So, and then saying the tree is just part of the relative world, in such a situation, you don't grasp that, because the tree is eternally beautiful. And all the other trees with them. So if you make a scale of compassion, the first step is you become compassionate towards your own thinking. And when you discover, I'm here, my thinking is there, and you enjoy your thinking coming into your space, there's already a seed of compassion towards your own thinking. And the second step of compassion is towards your own unprocessed emotions, negativity from the past. That's the second stage of compassion. Third stage of compassion is that you extend your awareness towards your physical environment. So in that stage, your vertical achievement translates itself into horizontal, you may say. Huh? Suddenly you see how beautiful a chair is, or a flower, or him. Huh? How beautiful everything is.